Beach ball. Elephant.
I don't like what's happening right now.
Grape.
Okay, Daniel. This episode taught me one thing. That there's nothing that can't be cured by a drink of the lads. In today's video, I'm reviewing and breaking down Fear the Walking Dead Season 6, Episode 10, Handle with Care. What did I think of it, what did I find, and what do I think is going to happen next? Let's get straight into it. What's he doing? I don't know, June, I think what he's written there is pretty normal. He's done it, he's just telling you to do it. I've done it. I think Daniel's telling someone else to do it. I don't know who that could be. I really loved this episode. It was a Daniel episode. It was just really good, and it's good to see Fear as its own show, and not like Season 5 and 4, where it was The Walking Dead's special brother. I haven't felt this way about Fear since Season 3, you know, where it was its own original show. You wouldn't be able to identify it as The Walking Dead. Again, The Walking Dead's amazing, but you don't ever want Fear to be another version of that, or the Walmart version of The Walking Dead. We want a spin-off, not a knockoff. The term filler episode has always annoyed me. I've got it with some episodes of The Walking Dead, but with Fear, especially episodes like this, it's not some kind of filler that doesn't matter. A lot happened, and it was so great to be with Daniel and actually see him happy. Now, in The Walking Dead, in this universe and in other dark universes, you know, where the main background isn't that, it's all rainbows and shit, I normally wouldn't actually even enjoy a character being happy. The fact that Fear has made me happy that a character is happy means I think it's done a really good job. I didn't want Daniel's happiness to end. It's been a very long time since he's had hope and something to lose. He had it, and I did not want him to lose it. This episode had a really smart way of getting Morgan out of the picture, mainly so that he wasn't here to see the fuckery that was about to happen.
How do we know if he's okay?
We need a fetal monitor.
I know where I can find one.
What? How do you... You know what? Don't fucking tell me. Morgan went to get a fetal monitor for Grace to check on the baby. So he was gone for most of the episode, leaving Daniel to pretty much be next in command. And it's Daniel. I'd trust him as a leader if I was in the community. And at this point in the show, he wouldn't hurt any... Oh, fuck. Strand found the skid mark, so that's good. Daniel's got his cat back.
Unmentionables.
The best thing Strand has ever said. This episode genuinely had me so interested to find out what Daniel had done. It actually suggests, for most of it, that he killed Strand. And there was actually a point where I thought he was going to. Usually in Fear, and apart from lately because of John, when a big character is in danger, you usually assume they're going to be okay and you won't be as tense because the story needs them. For a split second, I just accepted that Daniel was about to kill Strand. I shat. It was so good just to hear Daniel talk about and rehash the things that happened in Season 3, like when he was shot in the face. A big part of Daniel's story, and the feud between Strand and Daniel that they've had from the start. The conflict that these two characters have had, and the ongoing almost competition, is some of the best in most shows. It's so unique, and it works really well. I love these two characters, especially together like this. He assumes he's always lying, and if something is wrong, he thinks it's Strand.
You're always lying. Why are you doing this? Continue to give me every reason to hurt you.
Rightfully so, it's just really funny. And then you go and spoil it all by pulling a female's toy from your mouth. I thought this was about to be some Scooby-Doo shit, where he takes off the mask and it's Shaggy. It wasn't really Daniel, it was the school janitor all along. It's such a cool detail to add that he's gone through much more pain than we even thought. From the dam to what we saw him in Season 5, he literally keeps plastic in his mouth to hold it up from where Strand had shot him. And he reveals all of the pain that he still goes through because of what Strand did. I think that's so clever that they've added that, because it's one of those things where we'd always just assume a time jump magically healed it. I mean, he came back from that with just maybe a slight marking. And I think it's so good how Daniel constantly torments Strand, and Strand still gets on Daniel's nerves.
I don't need to remind you that you can survive a shot in the face. You've seen it. What you don't know is what it does to you.
It's definitely the most unique. It's such a weird relationship / hate they have for each other.
You will learn to hide the pain when you talk. You will wheeze.
It's like he's describing what starting YouTube would be like. You will hide the pain when you talk. You will wheeze. That's pretty much my channel in a sentence. Now, about Dakota. A big worry for me since episode 8 was that they'd do a Charlie in the way that she's just killed a really likeable character, one of the best. And the show would literally force us to like her and feel sorry for her. I did neither. But believe it or not, they handled Dakota perfectly. They weren't obnoxious about it, they didn't put it in our face, they didn't even make us feel sorry for her. In fact, I ended up just doing that anyway without them forcing it on me. They're not even trying to redeem her really, she's just been put in a very balanced, neutral place right now. And I think that's where she needs to stay if she's got any hopes of becoming one of the characters. But they've still got Charlie being the fucking hero character, and they immediately had her do that after killing Nick. I hated that, and I still can't believe it. I still think it's outrageous that they did that straight after she killed Nick, making us feel sorry for her like we have to. She's got to be best friends with Alicia now. What they're doing with Dakota, it's not that I felt bad for her, but the fact that they had these characters just lay into this kid, because I was sitting there like, oh, well, you did kill John, but I like you a lot more than I did. It's almost like Dakota's owned the bitchiness. She's owned the little shitness. Like, she knows she's a little shit.
Why are you looking at me? I was sitting at the table when it went off.
Dakota is being handled really, really well. I'm surprised by that.
The last place that she had him scouting for him. It was 2 days south of Tanktown.
She did have a little smile with Morgan, which makes you think she's gonna be redeemed, which, I mean, it's not being done in an obnoxious way. So I'm actually okay with it. I mean, she did kind of kill John like a psycho for her own psychotic reasons, which I think is weird and needs to be addressed, because it wasn't like an accident or revenge. She was weird about it, so that needs to be looked into. But apart from that, I think it's been handled really well. And she did help them. She wasn't overly confident or cocky. She wasn't feeling sorry for herself or crying. I think it was done perfectly. It was like they've kept the leash in it. I think they understand and they've learned from Charlie, even if Charlie does still skip around.
The other stuff was all about the messages on the walls.
Come on, man. Last time we listened to her, John ended up dead.
I know Dwight isn't starting shit on listening to the enemy side, is he? Not the saviour in The Walking Dead. Not the saviour who tried to help bring Negan down but failed in fucking doing that too. No, I must be having a fucking glitch. I must be having a malfunction in my brain. I can't be hearing this right. Of all characters to sit there and have an issue with Dakota helping, I didn't think it would be Dwight. The amount of hypocrisy and irony in this is crazy. Like, he literally only exists in this show, and this episode proves that. To suckle up to Sherry. And he has no self-respect at all. It's embarrassing. Like, I hate watching it. That was the only negative, if that you can even call that negative, in this episode. It was just cringy. I hate that. No self-respect. A simp. This is the most useful Dwight has ever been, doing the fucking roof tiling. Like, we've actually got something useful from Dwight now in Fear. He did the roofing, everyone. I mean, credit where it's due. Dwight doesn't get any.
Thank you.
Oh, I hate this. I can never watch someone de-level themselves like this. Like, Sherry made that decision and he's still sucking up. The thing is, I get it because he went through so much, but there's a certain point where you accept that she chose the fucking truck of morons, and you just accept it.
People at that table aren't the only ones in this place.
Okay, honey, come on.
No self-respect. This is why I think Dwight or Sherry will die. And it's a shame that's the talking point to that. Since episode 9, Sherry's been acting a lot more like her comic counterpart who died in the Whisper War. This is how she was acting before she would die. And that was weird even then. She managed to strangle Rick. An image I still can't get out of my head to this day. But how Sherry was acting then, she's acting a lot more like that now in Fear. And with there being this weird space between Dwight and Sherry now, after them already reuniting, I do think something is going to happen. Now, who do I want it to be? I'd want it to be Sherry. I don't dislike Dwight. I just don't like watching him lately. But Dwight's also got to this weird place where he's useless and he's comfortable. A very dangerous place to be. This scene was like at school when all of the kids were being noisy shits in the class, and the quiet kid and the teacher would make eye contact, and the teacher would be like, I'm sorry. But all I needed was an unsolicited explosion, making Daniel flinch and making him shit himself. Here's Daniel with a message of life.
The betrayal of those closest to you comes with a cost. It'll come back to haunt you.
Very true. You should never betray people, especially those closest to you. Even if you made Charlie your daughter after she killed Nick. Someone had hid the weapons, and Daniel was going to find them. This episode essentially was an hour of Daniel having a mental breakdown. And I say that in the nicest way possible. It was just really good to watch.
Where are the weapons? I said Charlie's not a part of this.
You know, Dee might vouch for you, but I don't know you. Maybe you're working. Hang on a second. Before you do that, why don't you tell us something? Where's Grace?
Shut up. Stop pretending to be a Rainbow Six Siege operator. You're Sherry. Daniel tells Grace and Charlie to go to a shack. He marks it on the map and sends them away. Yet when they find Grace, they look on the map and realise he had actually sent them to the caverns. And this is where it's revealed the weapons weren't hidden and Daniel did it himself. And it's revealed he actually has a psychological disorder now. He's not pretending, he's actually struggling with memory, delusion. He hid the weapons himself and nearly killed Strand. And again, I was worried for Daniel, but I love the acting so much, and I love Daniel so much that I just couldn't stop laughing throughout all of it. Because just to see this cool, manly character second guess himself and not realise what he's doing, it just tickled me, I guess was the right word. And you can tell when you start to realise what's going on, and you're like, oh.
Daniel, you did.
No, Morgan, I think he wrote the right thing.
Somebody moved them there. Was it you, Luciana? Did you do it?
He just starts blaming everyone. It's so scary to me the way that Daniel starts being presented to us, because the whole episode, it was kind of like his Inspector Calls show. Daniel was the inspector going around figuring it out, assuming it was Strand. But then it's revealed it was him. And we start to see that these plans that he creates in his head, these secret plots to turn them against each other, was really just him genuinely having something mentally wrong with him.
Trying to make us go against each other?
Okay.
She popped up like a random NPC that wasn't supposed to be there. June, being a nurse, actually comes over to visit Daniel to try and figure out what it is. And she says the reason for him having this sudden psychology meltdown is because he's finally got something to lose. He's finally slowed down. And because of this, to protect everyone else, he actually ends up leaving and says he's going to go back to the warehouse that we saw him at in season 5. But then Strand quickly says, no, come back to Lawton. So he's gone back to Lawton now with Strand, which I think is really cool. But the most interesting thing, the most important thing about Daniel's memory loss / mental disorder is that he's not just forgetting stuff, he's remembering things differently altogether. And so I do think this would be the perfect time for an Abraham flashback. Now, if you're confused at what I just said, why Abraham from The Walking Dead, it's a bit random, isn't it? Well, I'll leave a link to that video explaining that whole story after this is finished. But just know that Abraham did meet Daniel and was likely with him during that time jump when he would have found the warehouse, when he would have found Skidmark. So at the point in Daniel's story where he's having memory loss and mental struggles, don't you think that's the perfect time to have that Abraham flashback that we know in some form we would get?
It's confusing.
Yeah. After this, they then talk more about the spray painting and who these people really are and how to deal with them. And Dakota says where they last were and where they could possibly go to find out more. They talk about the tower that Althea and Dwight went to. Now, in one of the sneak peeks, we actually see a dead CRM soldier. So Althea will of course see that and know where they're from. It's going to be really interesting to pretty much see Alicia, for example, her first reaction to the jacket, the CRM armor. They're going to know that the CRM were here. And I can just tell by how Daniel was acting, you know, he's just got this mental condition. No one's going to believe a thing that he says about what he sees. We've seen the CRM were here. If Daniel was to see a helicopter, no one would believe him. And I've got a video coming out very soon, talking about what that actually means and what will happen at the end of Season 6, what I think is going to happen at the end of Season 6, and why I think Daniel would encounter the CRM and no one would believe him. I don't think he would even believe what he sees, because you wouldn't when you see a helicopter. And I think that's so important that that's happened just now, when we're about to see way more of the CRM in Fear. And we've just spoke about Strand being the leader, being the one to lead this big army that Michonne saw in her final episode. So I think that's so interesting, the fact that Daniel's lost his mental stability all of a sudden, and now they're going to see the CRM in the next episode. Again, it is a CRM soldier as a walker, but Alicia's going to see it, and this would be their first real encounter with that uniform that they wear. There was the Season 5 premiere, but I mean, that was John. No one else got close to it, apart from Althea. But pay very close attention to the fact that Daniel has just lost his mental stability. He started having memory loss, remembering things wrong, and they're about to see the CRM in the next episode. That's interesting. I do think something big with the CRM is coming at the end of Season 6. If not, then at some point in the near future with Fear. I think it has to. But what did you think? What do you think of this episode? What did you think of Dakota? What do you think is going to happen with Daniel now? And what do you think is going to happen with the CRM? Let me know what you think down below. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, then make sure you press the like button. It will help me out and get this video seen by more people. If so, then check out my most recent video. We talk about Scott Gimple actually hinting at the return of a familiar character. He actually says that a character will be appearing in The Walking Dead World Beyond. So a heavily CRM connected character. It could be Heath, most likely Jadis, but at the end of World Beyond, likely Rick. I mean, you're mentally deranged if you think nothing about Rick will be teased in Season 2 of World Beyond. We're going to see something about Rick. It could even be a picture of Rick. But watch this video to get all the latest. And watch this video for the full story on how Abraham actually met Daniel, if you were wondering what I meant by that. Yeah, it's really likely that they actually met. There's some strong links that we've been shown in Fear, and it suggests that Abraham could actually appear in Fear and have quite a big importance to the Fear story. And of course, make sure you subscribe so that you are the first to see my videos. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.
Unmentionables.